So I have decided I'm going to do a like quarter-ish wrap up. I'm a mood reader, and so I often lean into like the fallish academia, moody reads in the fall. So I'm just gonna do a quarter-ish wrap up of July and August of my top books and worst books. So all my 5-star reads and 1 or 2-star reads. And I'm just gonna go through those now, and then the end of the year will probably just be what's left, September through December. It is what it is. Yeah. So I will just start with the worst because there's less of them. There's only 2 of those. I guess there's technically 3. There's 3. The first one is Dune Messiah. Give it a 2-star by Frank Herbert, which is really, really sad. Because I loved the first one, Dune. I don't have the first one. I borrowed it to my aunt. Because I liked it that much, and my uncle read it too. It's so good. It's a very interesting planet. I like the way they built the religion and kind of showed how the people who are like foreseen and how they're like have religions built around them. They're just normal guys, and then it can totally throw their life into ruin. It was interesting how he did it. I think he did a great job with Dune. They were written in like the 70s or something like that. It was a long time ago. Let's see if it says in here. This one was published, in 69. So that one was in, like at least 66 or whatever. So it's great for that, but Dune Messiah was not good. It was annoying and poorly written, and I didn't like the characters. I didn't like what he did with them. I think it was Alex Neves. I think it was who he was, said, don't do it, don't read the second one. I should have listened. I shouldn't have read the second one, but I did. Didn't like it. Now you can listen to me or not. Maybe you're gonna read it too, but don't read it. And then the second 2 books technically are the Nikki and the Night Owls, part 1 and part 2. They're 2 different books. I didn't even say what Dune Messiah was about. It's a like sci-fi book about a planet where there is no water, and they have this spice that's a drug for them, and it's a war going on throughout the planet for control over the spice. I'm sure it goes into a whole solar system thing because there's other, like the main character comes from another planet in the story and everything. But it's his rise to godliness or whatever. Like he was foreseen, he's the savior. And then the second one is what happens after he comes to his saviorism. It's been a word, but you know what I mean. So yeah. Nikki and the Night Owls. I read both of them. It's a duology. I shouldn't have gone on. So to start off with, it's about this girl who she recently got a job. She's a librarian. But she recently got a job at this night library. Well, it's a 24-hour library, but she took the night shift. And she meets these 2 that come in together. And then she finds out that they're in a pack. Oh, okay. Other precursor here. In this book, it's like our world, but not. So like everybody has scent glands, and I honestly, I got these books for free from Amazon. They had like Amazon had like 1,000 or thousands or something free romance books on some day, and I just downloaded like 20 of them. Who knows if I'll ever get through that many, but I'm just slowly chipping away at them when I need an ebook in between books. But this is one of them. I honestly thought it was like, which I don't even like werewolves, but I thought it was like a random werewolf book, because they kept talking about like alphas and betas and omegas, and they had scent glands, but no, they're just people. But in this world, they have scent glands, and they're predispositioned to be alphas or betas or omegas. And so like the alphas are dominant and the omegas are submissive, and the betas are like just kind of floating in the middle. And so the main character is a beta, floats in the middle. But then she meets this pack, and the pack has a mixture. I think there's 3 alphas, a beta, and an omega. But anyways, she meets them, and they like start dating her slowly. I think there's 5 of them. She's number 6. And so they like get together, and it's a like steamy romance book, and they honestly have more relations than I think is humanly possible. Like, they can't be in the vicinity of each other without going nuts, and it was a lot. There are some storylines. It's very progressive in the whole, like, he, she, they, and polyamory and all that stuff. They just are very on the nose about it, and I think sometimes you're like, yeah, okay, I get it, moving on. And also the storylines aren't great. And I gave the first one a 2, and then it got to the end of it, and right before the last chapter, like, the author literally put like a little page, and there was like, if you can't handle these storylines, and if you can't handle these types of kink, like, don't read on. And I'm like, well, I don't know what I can handle or not. Like, I don't know where I'm, like, what I can handle. And so, like, when somebody tells me that thing, I need to try it and read it, because I'm like, well, I need to know, what is this? Like, what's so bad that you have to have a, like, blurb in there, like, watch out, beware. So then I obviously had to read the second book to find out what I was missing out on and what some people can't handle. And then I read the second book, and it wasn't great. It was even worse. I hated it. I barely finished it, but I had to force myself to finish it so I could rate it naturally. So anyways, that was a 1. So I don't recommend those either. Yeah. Okay. That's the end of the worst ones. Now I have 5. Yeah. 5 5s. Although the last 5, I don't think it should be a 5. I think it should be a 4. I don't know if I meant to give it a 5. I remember it being a 4 in my head. I'll just talk about it first because I don't even have the book. It's Colleen Hoover's November 9. I liked it. It was really good for a romance novel. It like was cutesy enough, but had lots of drama and terrible things happening in their lives, and it wasn't like it made. So these 2 met when they were 18. I think, yeah, 18. And the girl was like, I can't date you. I need to live my life. And then they decided to meet every November 9th for 5 years, because their mom said that you can't make decisions as a full adult until you're 23. So she and the guy said, cool, we'll meet every year on November 9th. And then will not talk again. Like, they have no contact, no texts, no phone calls, no Facebook stalking. They blocked each other for 5 years. And so it was like kind of insta-lovey. You assume they're going to get together in the end anyways, but like, they were dating other people and their lives were happening in parallel, not, whatever. So I liked it a lot. I don't remember loving it. Like, it's not nearly as good as these other books in the stack. But I had it on as a 5 on Goodreads, so I just left it. Whatever. Maybe I'll lower it to a 4. I don't know why it's at a 5 right now anyways, but whatever. Side note, I don't recommend Colleen Hoover. That's the only book. I think I've had to read like 4 for my book clubs now. I read them because of book club. I'm in a book club and they all love Colleen Hoover, so I've read 3 or 4 now. That's the only one I've liked. The other ones, no. So that's the only one I recommend. Yeah. Moving on though. I have the rest of these. So. Homegoing. I actually did listen to most of this. Or all of it. I don't even know if I found it. Yeah, I think I found it afterwards. I didn't realize I bought it. But, supporting the author. It's a great book. Read it. It follows, actually this is really thin. I thought it was a lot longer than this. But it follows 2 descendants descendancy lines. I don't know how you'd say that. Two sisters are split up when they're young in Ghana in the 18th century. And it follows their descendants as they go through. One of them is brought over to America on a slave ship, and the other one stays and is raised, like, in Ghana. And their lines, how they diverge, how they're similar, all of the hardships they face. It's very harrowing. It deals with so many issues. I mean, I can't say I know, but it's a great book to read all the different things that have happened through both sides. Terrible things have happened to, like, all of them. Both sides are very intelligent. They both are, well, most of them are leaders in the community. There's always some every couple of generations that have more struggles than others. But I like how it contrasts them. It got a little bit long in the middle. It just, like, you couldn't keep track sometimes when you're going back and forth, but it was good. The way it does it is it staggers, like, one chapter. I don't even, because I didn't read it, I listened to it. I don't even think it's chapters. I think it's just, like, short little sections. Yeah, there's no chapter heads. So I think that's why I had such a hard time sometimes when I was listening, is that, like, it doesn't even title the chapters by the names or anything. It's just, like, there'll just be a pause, and then it'll go to the other side. So it's like one side, the other side, one side, the other side. And until you figure that out, it's a little confusing. But I highly recommend it. It's great. I like how she wraps it up in the end. Yeah. Put it on your list. It's a good one. Oh, by Gayasi. I heard them say it at one point. I'm sorry if I say that wrong. But, yeah, it's good. Adventures of Amina El-Tarafi. This one was also really good. I got the cool signed copy from the Broken Binding, which I greatly enjoy. This is the UK cover because I like it better, which is controversial because, like, a lot of people say the US is better, and it's not. But this one, she's the one who wrote the Daevabad trilogy. But it is about a pirate woman who is, like, retired. She's older. She has a kid. I think she's like 40-ish probably. But she was, like, a feared pirateer. Like, the men all looked down on her because she was, like, the only woman, and she was seen as, like, kind of like a like, they slut shamed her and talked bad about her and everything because she was a strong woman. And she did have, like, 4 or 5 husbands, but she did her thing. She talks about how she still, like, believes in God, like, that you don't have to be a bad person to have multiple husbands. It's, like, the whole point of the thing. But she retired, and she was just trying to live her life and stay out of harm's way and protect her family. And then she gets pulled back in by one of her old crewmates' grandmother or mother. I want to say mother. And she's pulled on to this new journey with her crew again, and so it's like a ragtag crew's coming back together again to save the world. But it was really good. It was really fun. I loved the strong feminist part of it. It's a bit chunky, but I think there's more coming out. I don't remember if I know that for sure, if it just feels like it, but I like this one a lot. It was fun. It has lots of mythologicalness to it as well. And it does, I don't remember how many years before, but it has some character crossover with the Daevabad trilogy. I don't remember how many, like 2,000 years before it or something like that, but I like that one. Next one is The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. This one is a trilogy or quadrology. But this one is about this land where when you are 14, I believe it is, they have this ceremony where they cut all of the girls, and if you bleed gold, then you are seen as a demon, and they kill you, or try and kill you. And so these poor girls, they live their whole life, they're not allowed to do anything, because if they get cut and they start bleeding gold, then they get killed. They have to, the women who don't bleed gold are allowed to wear a half mask, and that shows their innocence and their purity. And the gold girls aren't allowed to wear them because they're impure. They have demon blood. And so the main character, I don't even remember her name now. It's terrible. Forgive me. I forgot the main character's name, but she bleeds, and then she gets taken, and it's kind of it's another feminist book, but it's about how these women are bonded together, they're conscripted to the army, and they're going to try and win the war, and even though they bleed gold, they're extra strong. And oh yeah, and the other main thing is most of them can't die normal deaths. There's a true death for each one of them. It's normally beheading, burning, or dismemberment, I think. And that's how, when they truly die. But otherwise, if they die, they have a golden sleep, I believe it's called, and their bodies like fuse back together again. And so some of these girls are treated horribly. Some of them are, just the normal rape and beating and all that stuff, but then some of them are killed over and over and over again so that they can take their gold blood and sell it, for gold, for money. But they don't die, and so they just keep being killed over and over and over again, often by their family and friends and loved ones. So it's kind of sad, but it's really good. I'm on book 2 now. I took a pause because I was reading other things for my book club and other stuff, but I recommend that one. And then the final one is The Personal Librarian, which was for my book club. And this one, also a feminist book. There's a theme going on here, I guess, apparently. But this one is a novel about, what's her name? Belle DeCosta Green. Her real name isn't that, though. Her real name is Belle Marion Greener. And she was the personal librarian to JP Morgan's library. It's called library, but it's more of like a collection of antique and fine arts. He collected the first books, like published kind of in a printing press. He collected a bunch of those, and he collected some artwork and some Bibles, and other just historical documents and art pieces. But she, the main thing about her is that it's like based on a real woman, and it's pretty close to real historical events. It was written by 2 different authors, Marie Benedict and Victoria Christopher Murray, to make sure that it was as close as possible to her real life. Most of the people and events in the story are like real, but they just kind of tied in some like personal storyline things to make it a novel. But she was a like fully African American. Both of her parents were black, but they were very light skinned, so they could be they passed as white. They were white passing. But the father was a huge civil rights activist. He left the family after, I think it was after the youngest sibling was born. It was either right before she was born or after, but I'm pretty sure it was after. Yeah, because she had some memories of him. So when she was like 5 or something like that, he left. But the mom filled out the, what's it called? Census, the U.S. Census, and said that they're white, and he couldn't live like that because he was a black civil rights activist. So he couldn't do it, and so he left the family, and the mom raised the kids. There was, I believe, 3 or 4 sisters, and a brother. Yeah, that she raised as white. They all just told everyone they were. They stopped going home to their family, their extended family, because they lived in a like prominent, affluent black area in DC, and they had all moved to New York. And so she got a job. She was raised. Her father went to, I don't remember which, one of the Ivy League schools, and so he was highly educated. He started buying her art history books when she was 10, brought her all to all the museums, and just raised her in the art world. And so she was qualified and, well, mostly qualified. She fudged a little bit, but to be JP Morgan's personal librarian. But this story goes through all the struggles that she has to both be the only woman in her field, because it was dominated. She was literally the only woman who was buying these art pieces, even though it wasn't her money, but going to these auctions and talking to dealers. And then, but she was also black, biased against white, so she couldn't be discovered. Most of the servants that she encountered were black. She couldn't get married and have kids because there is a chance that her kids would come out darker, and then she would be found out that she wasn't white. JP Morgan was quite racist bigot, and it's quite obvious, I believe, that he wouldn't have put up with it if he ever found out that she was black. He was anti-Semitic and all that stuff too. All the big men have issues. Yeah, it's what we've all come to learn these days. But it also talks about, however, that even though he was that way, she still saw him as such a father figure. Like, she couldn't have done what she did without him. She cared for him, even though he never knew her fully and never could know her fully. But anyway, it was a great book. She's an amazing woman. She's cool. We looked it up at our book club. I think there's a small bust of her now in the Morgan Library, but anyway, the JP Morgan Library is still around. We looked that up too. But it was great. And I think almost everyone liked it. Some people liked it more than others. It is very historical fiction-y, like it just kind of, like it reads like a history book. It's less fiction, more history. But I like that part. Like, I like that it's more history. So I recommend it. But yeah, that's all the books I have for those 2 months. Well, not all the books. There is plenty of like 3s. But those were my 5 stars. Those are the ones that I loved, and 3 books that I really don't recommend you read. But anyways, maybe what? Nah, I'm at 23 minutes. I was gonna say maybe I should go through and read you all my 4-star books, because there was plenty of like 4-star books that I liked a lot too, but I just didn't like love them as much. Maybe if you have an opinion, let me know in the comments if I should start telling you my like 3 or 4-star books. Maybe I'll just like not do a big old summary, just like glimpse through them. But anyways, yeah, I will see you guys at some point. But anyways, yeah, bye.